Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. My apologies for yesterday. I had technical difficulties that prevented me from getting the share up. However, we're going to say share now. I'm recording this share a little before 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to do Daf Mem Dalet Amud Aleph now, and we'll see. Maybe later, maybe I could even get in Mem Dalet Amud Beis later. We'll see. So we're holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav. We'll be learning today Meretz Hashem Daf Mem Dalet Amud Aleph. We're continuing to learn Hilchos Tainus. We pick up today near the bottom of Mem Gimel Amud Beis, Siman Tavkuf Samach Ches Sif Beis, in the words of the Ramah, 2 lines from the bottom. Now, let's get this into context. Let's recapture what we were speaking about here in Sif Beis. So in the beginning of Sif Beis, the Mechaber gave us 2 different cases. The Mechaber gave us one case where somebody made a neder to fast several non-specific days. So somebody made a neder. The case of the Mechaber is he made a neder that he's going to fast 10 days. He didn't name 10 specific days. He said at some point I'm going to fast 10 days. And it's not necessarily 10 days in a row either. He owes 10 tanesim. Then one day he decides, okay, tomorrow I'm going to fast one of my 10 days. So let's say he decides on Sunday that he's going to fast on Monday. So Sunday afternoon by Mincha, he's Makabel Tainus. He says, Hareini b'Tainus l'machar. So he's Makabel Tainus for Monday, and he intends that Monday is going to be one of his 10 fast days that he owes. Then what happens? Says the Mechaber, then there comes up a Dvar Mitzvah. Let's say he comes to Shul and he finds out that somebody's making a bris. So now there's a Sudas bris. A Sudas bris is a Dvar Mitzvah. So now he wants to break his fast. In that case, the Mechaber said, this person could be loive, he could borrow back that fast day, even though he was Makabel Tainus yesterday by Mincha on Sunday. He said, Areini b'Tainus l'machar, and he started to fast on Monday. Still, since there's a Dvar Mitzvah, since there's a Bris Milah, he could go break his fast, he could eat, so he's borrowing back that fast day, and then upareya, he could take another day, and he'll fast another day to make up for that day, because it's a Dvar Mitzvah. The second case that the Mechaber gave was, how about if there was no original neder? It's not a case where somebody made a neder and he said, I'm going to fast 10 days. In that case, the Kabbalah Satainis that he makes on Sunday for Monday to be Mekayim, one of the 10 fasts that he owes, that Kabbalah Satainis referred back to his original neder. And his original neder was not for any specific days. So even though he was Makabel Tainus on Sunday for Monday, it's not considered that Monday is a specific day that he needs to fast. It's one of those unspecified days that he owes. And since it's an unspecified day, if there's a Dvar Mitzvah that makes him break the fast, he could break the fast and he could always repay it with a different day to be Mekayim the 10 days. In the second case, what happened is, there was no original neder. It's not that the person said, I want to fast 10 days at some point. This person decided on Sunday that he wants to fast on Monday. Out of the blue. So Sunday by Mincha, he said, Hareini b'Tainus l'machar. That's a Kabbalah's Tainus that has no original neder to refer back to. And since it doesn't have an original neder to refer back to, when he says Hareini b'Tainus l'machar, that is a neder where he specified a day that he's fasting on. He specified tomorrow. You can't make that up by fasting a different day. You made tomorrow a specific fast day. I'm fasting tomorrow. Again, I want to be clear in the contrast between the 2 cases. In this case, since there is no original neder for his Kabbalah's Tainus to refer back to, when he says, Hareini b'Tainus l'machar, I'm going to have a fast day tomorrow, we look at that he made tomorrow a specific day that he needs to fast on. Okay, he can't break his fast because there's no way to make that up. He said he's going to fast tomorrow. He didn't say I'm going to fast some unspecified day. He said I'm going to fast tomorrow. But in the first case of the Mechaber, the person made a neder. He said, I'm going to fast 10 days, whenever. Then he decided that one of them is going to be tomorrow. So he said, Hareini b'Tainus l'machar. But that statement of Hareini b'Tainus l'machar refers back to the original neder of 10 days whenever. So tomorrow is just considered one of the whenever days. A whenever day you could always make up. So there's a Dvar Mitzvah, you could break the tainus for the Dvar Mitzvah. In the second case, you cannot break the tainus for the Dvar Mitzvah. That's the two cases of the Mechaber. Now says the Ramah, 2 lines from the bottom, Men Gimel Amud Beis. Hago. V'chol shekain yom zeh mamish. Certainly, if somebody made a neder where he said outright, I am going to fast next week Monday, and then next week on Sunday, he's makabel tainus. Certainly in that case, kigoin sha'amar b'tchilas nidroi, where somebody made an original neder, and he said, Esane yom ploini, I'm going to fast on this specific day. Oy esane sheni v'chamishi kol hashana. Or somebody says, I am going to fast Monday and Thursday for this entire year. In that case, there's an original neder that specified specific days. Oy kadoima lozeh, or any case similar to that. Says the Ramah, certainly in those cases, if on one of your fast days you encounter a bris milah, you can't go break your fast because there's no way to make up that fast. Your original neder was for specific days. So there's no way to make that up. So you can't be loiva upareya. You can't break your fast for a dvar mitzvah and then make it up on a different day. There's no way to make it up. Continues the Mechaber. V'chein im haya tainus chaloim. The same halacha would be true if somebody finds himself that he needs to fast for a tainus chaloim. Somebody Sunday night had a terrible dream. Now he needs to fast on Monday. Because the halacha is, the Gemara says, that in order to be mevatel a chaloim, to nullify a bad dream, you have to fast on that day. So that's a specific day tainus. You can't make that up with a different day. So if there's a bris milah, you can't eat. There's no way to be loiveya upareya for a tainus chaloim. Says the Ramah, Haga, the cholshkein she'ena yochel lilvais for lefraya tainus tzibur. Certainly you can't be loiva upareya by a tainus tzibur. You can't say, oh, there's a bris milah on Shivasa B'Tammuz. I'm going to break my fast for a dvar mitzvah, and I'll fast a different day for Shivasa B'Tammuz. You can't do that. Shivasa B'Tammuz is the fast day. The 18th day of Tammuz is not a fast day. The 19th day of Tammuz is not a fast day. The fast is to commemorate the terrible happenings that happened on Shivasa B'Tammuz. So you can't make that up by fasting a different day. Okay, now let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurahs here. Says the Mishnah Berurah back on Mem Gimel Amud Beis, Ois Cotton Yud Gimel. Sheni v'chamishi kol hashana. The Ramah gave a case over here where somebody made an original neder where he said, I am going to fast on Monday and Thursday, kol hashana, all of this year. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Tahavale Yom Meyuchad, by saying I'm going to fast Monday and Thursday this whole year, you specified specific days. Monday and Thursday this entire year. So you can't be loiveya upareya. You can't say, oh, there's a bris this Monday, so I'm not going to fast. I'll break my fast on Monday and I'll fast Tuesday instead. No, you specified Mondays and Thursdays this year. You also can't say, all right, I won't fast Monday and Thursday this year. I'll fast Monday and Thursday next year. Can't do that either. Why? The Kevin the Amar Ha-Shana, because since he prefaced the word Shana with a hey hayadiyah, he said, I'm going to fast Sheni v'chamishi Ha-Shana. Ha-Shana means this year. Shana zu dafka. That's specifying this year. Avalim nadar lehisanos beis heyu beis, but if he makes a neder to fast Monday, Thursday, and Monday, chatzi shana, for half a year. He doesn't say chatzi hashana. He doesn't say half of this year. He says for half a year, I'm going to fast bahab for 6 months. Oishana, or he says, I'm going to fast bahab for a year. But he doesn't say hashana. He doesn't say this year. V'lo yamar hashana, lo mikri yom zeh. Then that does not constitute a neder for specific days. The yachal lilvais v'lefraya, so then he could be loiva upareya, then he could switch out the fast of Monday, Thursday, Monday from this year to a different year. V'lefraya be'bahab acherim. He could do it on a different year. La'achar sheyichel chatzi shana, when this 6 months are over. So he said, I'm going to fast bahab for 6 months. So he doesn't necessarily have to do it these 6 months. He can wait till these 6 months are over, and he can do it in another 6 months. Oishana Rishana, or he could wait till this year is over and do it in a different year. Aval Yomim Acherim, but how about if somebody said, I'm going to fast Bahab for 6 months or for a year? And then he says, you know what? Fasting Monday and Thursday and Monday is hard for some reason. I have hard work days on Mondays and Thursdays. I'd rather fast on Sundays and Tuesdays. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you can't do that. Aval Yomim Acherim, but to switch the days from Monday, Thursday to, let's say, Sunday, Tuesday, Kigon Rishon, Shlishi, Revi, Shishi, Ein Yochel Lahachlif. That you cannot do. The Efsher, the Dafkal Yomim Elu Kapid, because there's a very reasonable reason to say that when somebody was makabel to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, he meant specifically Mondays and Thursdays. Shehem Yemei Rotzain. Because Mondays and Thursdays are considered Yemei Rotzain. Those are days when the Rabbeinu Shalom is more inclined to listen to our tefillas. The Akrainim write the Misha Nadar lehisanes bahab, somebody who made a neder to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. Well, he made a neder to fast Monday, Thursday, Monday. So let's say somebody said, I'm being makabel on myself to fast the next bahab, Monday, Thursday, and Monday. He could switch out that Monday, Thursday, Monday, and instead fast Chamishi, Sheni, v'Chamishi. Thursday, Monday, Thursday. Because the kavanah sayhaya rakl yamim elu shem yimei ratzon. When a person said, I'm going to fast Bahab, it doesn't necessarily mean Monday, Thursday, Monday. It means a combination of Mondays and Thursdays. Because Mondays and Thursdays are Yimei Ratzon. So he could swap it out for Thursday, Monday, Thursday, instead of Monday, Thursday, Monday. Okay. He's cutting your Dalit. The Mechaber said that this halacha also applies to a Tainus Chaloim. If somebody has a bad dream and he has to fast a Tainus Chaloim. So he had a bad dream Sunday night, now he's going to fast a Tainus Chaloim on Monday. Comes to shul and there's a bris milah. So he says, I want to be loiva u'pereya. I want to eat by the bris, and I'll fast a different day for my Tainus Chaloim. The Ramah said you cannot do that, and we explained the reason is it's based on the Gemara. The Gemara says that a Tainus Chaloim has to be the day after the Chaloim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the same thing is true a yard site. If somebody is has the practice of fasting on a yard site for a parent or for a rebbe, so you can't swap out that Tainus for a different Tainus. That's considered a specific day Tainus. Okay, now we go further in the Ramah's second line, Mem Daled Amud Aleph. Mihu. However, Tainus Sheni v'Chamishi v'Sheni, the fast of Monday, Thursday, Monday, Shenayhagim lehisanois achar Pesach v'Sukkos, where many have the minhag to fast the Monday, Thursday, and Monday following Pesach and Sukkos. It's not the first Monday, Thursday, Monday after Pesach and Sukkos. It's the first Monday, Thursday, Monday after Rosh Chodesh Mar Cheshvan and Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So the people who have that practice, or even the people who have a more common practice, the people who have the practice to fast on Aseres Yimei Tshuva, Ve'ira Bahem Bris Milah, and now a Bris Milah falls out either on Bahab or a Bris Milah falls out during Aseres Yimei Tshuva. How do we look at that? So let's back up. Let's analyze this. The halacha that we've learnt now between the Mechaber and the Ramah is the rule is very basic. If the Tainus is a specific day Tainus, then you can't be loiva u'pareya. You can't break your fast for a bris milah because you can't make it up on a different day. If the fast is a non-specific day fast, then you could be loiva u'pareya. What happens with these Tanesim? The Tanesim of Bahab and the Tanesim of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. Says the Ramah, mitzvah lechol. If there's a bris milah on the Bahab or during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, there's a mitzvah to eat, because this is a Sudas mitzvah, or a bris milah. Ve'ein sarach HaTorah, and he does not need to be mater neder in order to be able to eat on these days. And the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, this is not a case of loiva u'pareya. He doesn't have to make up the Tainus on a different day, even though we'll get to that in the Mishnah Berurah more. He doesn't really have to make up the Tainus on a different day. Why? Because the Kabbalah of fasting on Bahab and the Kabbalah of fasting on Aseres Yimei Tshuva was not made in the circumstance with his bris milah. That then it's not a minhag to fast. There's no minhag to fast bahab when there's a bris milah. If there's a bris milah, that preempts the tainus, and there's no tainus. So then you don't have to make it up either. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah. We have some lengthy Mishnah Berurahs here. So Mishnah Berurah, Eis Cotton Tezvav. Afilu ba'aseres yemei tshuva. So the two cases that the Ramah gave me over here are Bahab after Pesach and Sukkot. What happens if a bris milah falls out on Bahab after Pesach and Sukkot when somebody has to practice to fast, or where a bris milah falls out during Aseres Yemei Tshuva and a person has to practice to fast on Aseres Yemei Tshuva? Pirush, the Mishnah Berurah explains, Shem Yuchadim Elu Yamim Dafka. These sound like specific day tanesim, right? We said the rule is if it's a specific day tainus, then you got to fast because you can't make it up. These sound like specific day tanesim. It's Bahab after Pesach and Sukkot. Can't make that up with a different Bahab. And it's Aseres Yemei Tshuva. You can't make that up with a different day. V'hava amina da asur lechol. So I would have thought maybe you're not allowed to eat by the bris milah. Kamash Balan that no, you are. And why? Because the original Kabbalah to fast on Bahab and to fast on Aseres Yemei Tshuva, that minig doesn't apply if there's a bris milah. Eis Cotton Tezayin, bris milah, oipid yinaben. This halacha doesn't apply only to the Sudas mitzvah of a bris or to the Sudas mitzvah of a pidyon haben. Shar Sudas mitzvah or another Sudas mitzvah like a siyam mesechta. Eis Cotton Yud Zayin. In those cases, mitzvah, there's a mitzvah to eat. And says the Chavetz Chaim, ve'ein tzarich litein yom achar avur zeh. And you don't have to make it up with a different day tainus. Again, why don't you have to make it up? Because in the case of a bris milah or a sudas mitzvah, there is no minhag to fast, so there's nothing to make up. Eis Cotton Yud Ches le'echol, it's a mitzvah to eat. And says the Mishnah Berurah, upashut, it's obvious, the b'makom the mutter le'echol ala suda. In these cases where the halacha is that you're allowed to eat for the sudas mitzvah, einoi tainus klal. That means that day is not a fast day. And now, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hours after the sudas bris, you're still allowed to eat. Don't think that you're allowed to eat by the sudas bris, but then you have to fast the rest of the day. No, you're allowed to eat by the sudas bris, and then you go home 2 hours later, you can eat and drink, everything is fine, it's not a fast day. Umiyu, however, koydem asuda, before the sudas bris, asur lecha v'lishtais bebeisai, you're not allowed to eat and drink in your house. Until the bris milah, it still has a status of a fast day. Once you buy the sudas bris, now you have a sudas mitzvah. Now you could break your fast and you could eat, and for the rest of the day, it's no longer a fast day. Miyu, however, says the Chavetz Chaim, habale bris, the bale bris, and who are the bale bris? The avi ben, the sandik, and the moil. The bale bris, mutarim lecha v'lishtais miyad. They're allowed to eat and drink already from the beginning of the day. Why the Yom Tov shelahemhu? Because for them, the entire day has the status of Yom Tov. U'b'sefer Eliyah Rabbah mistabik, in the Sefer Eliyah Rabbah he's misupik. The efsher the dafka achat tfilas hamincha. It could be that everybody should fast until mincha gedolah, and then after mincha they should make the bris and they should make the suda and they should fast the rest of the day. Ayin sham. I don't know about making the bris, but make the sudas a bris. Not sure about making the bris. Making the bris is a big Indian of Zrizin Magdiman. Maybe they should make the bris early, but just make the sudas a bris late. Eis Cotton Yutes, the Ramah explained, the reason why you're allowed to go eat by the sudas mitzvah, and you don't have to worry about these tanesim, is because kiloi nagu. Because in these cases, there is no minhag to fast when there's a sudas mitzvah. Now, says the Mishnah, an interesting thing. V'im yodeya lifnei Rosh Hashanah, a bris you know about 8 days in advance. V'im yodeya lifnei Rosh Hashanah, if you knew before Rosh Hashanah, sheyoichal bein Rosh Hashanah liyom HaKippurim al bris milah, your brother, Baruch Hashem, had a boy. So you knew already before Rosh Hashanah that you're going to have a bris during Aseres Yemei Tshuva. And you have the practice to normally fast during Aseres Yemei Tshuva. And you know that the halacha over here in Siman Tavkov Samaches is that if you have a bris milah during Aseres Yemei Tshuva, even though it's your practice to fast, you don't fast. It's a mitzvah to eat, and you eat. And you also know that the halacha is that the Mishnah Berurah said you're not mechuyev to make it up. But now you already knew in advance. You knew before Rosh Hashanah that you're going to end up eating during Aseres Yimei Tshuva by a Sudas Bris Milah. In that case, says the Chavetz Chaim, V'im yedei lefnei Rosh Hashanah, if you were already aware before Rosh Hashanah, sheyoichal bein Rosh Hashanah liyom HaKippurim al Bris Milah ay sha'arei Sudas Mitzvah, that you're going to end up eating during Aseres Yimei Tshuva for a Bris Milah or for a different Sudas Mitzvah, then says the Chavetz Chaim, and if you look at the Sharitzi, and he brings this down from the Magen Avram, mechuyev lehisanois oid yoim echad lifnei Rosh Hashanah. Then you should fast one day before Rosh Hashanah. Forewarned is forearmed. You know that you have the practice of fasting during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, and you know that you're going to have to break your fast one of those days for a Bris Milah. So in that case, says the Magen Avram, fast a day before Rosh Hashanah to make up for that day. And says the Mishnah Berurah that the Magen Avram says there's a precedent for this. We already find the practice that the people who have the minute to fast during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, you cannot fast the entire Aseres Yimei Tshuva because the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are part of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. People make that mistake very often. They say, Aseres Yimei Tshuva are the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. No, not true. Aseres Yimei Tshuva incorporates Rosh Hashanah. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are part of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. Now, you're not allowed to fast on Rosh Hashanah, so that's 2 days of Aseres Yimei Tshuva you're not allowed to fast. You can't fast on Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Yom Kippur is a mitzvah to eat. So Erev Yom Kippur is a third day of Aseres Yimei Tshuva that you can't fast. And then you also have Shabbos. There's always a Shabbos during Aseres Yimei Tshuva. You can't fast on Shabbos. So you have 4 days of Aseres Yimei Tshuva that you can't fast. And because of that, the minig is that the people who fast Aseres Yimei Tshuva fast 4 days before Aseres Yimei Tshuva to make up for those 4 days. So says the Magen Avram, once we see that practice, so if you know that you're not going to be able to fast one of the days that you normally would fast during Aseres Yimei Tshuva because of a Bris Milah, so fast another day before Rosh Hashanah to make up for that day. And now the Mishnah Berurah says a very interesting thing, and I was very puzzled by the logic over here. I'm going to explain it to you the way I understand it. I hope that I'm right. Says the Chavetz Chaim, V'chol shekei, certainly, im ira hasudas mitzvah ba'arba yamim shelifnei Rosh Hashanah. Let's say you know that you have a Bris Milah one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, that you have the minig shemisan in yom echad negdoi. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. The choshkeit certainly im ira sudas mitzvah ba'arba yamim shelifnei Rosh Hashanah. Let's say the Bris Milah falls out on one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah that you always fast to make up for the 4 days of Aseres Yimei Tshuva that you cannot fast, like we just explained. In that case, says the Chavetz Chaim, Kol shkein, certainly, shemis adin yom echad negdoi. Then you certainly have to fast to make up for one of those days. So let's just analyze the logic that the Chavetz Chaim just said. We just learned a halacha like this. We said, there are people who have a practice to fast for Aseres Yimei Tshuva. During Aseres Yimei Tshuva, there are 4 days that you can't fast. There's the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippur, and Shabbos. Therefore, there's a minute to fast 4 days before Rosh Hashanah to make up for those 4 days. Good. Now we learned halacha. Let's say you know before Rosh Hashanah that you're going to have a Bris Milah during Aseres Yimei Tshuva. So you're not going to be able to fast on that day. So now there's another day of the Aseres Yimei Tshuva that you're not going to be able to fast. Therefore, says the Magen Avram, add on a 5th day before Rosh Hashanah that you're going to fast to make up for that additional day of Aseres Yimei Tshuva that you're not going to be able to fast because of the Bris Milah. Then says the Chavetz Chaim, Kol shekain, certainly, if I'm telling you that if you have a Bris Milah during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, you have to go fast an additional day before Rosh Hashanah to make up for that day, then certainly, if you have a Bris Milah during one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah that you normally fast to make up for the 4 days of Aseret Yemei Tshuva that you can't fast, certainly you should make up that day by adding on a 5th day before Rosh Hashanah to fast. What's the certainly? What's the kolshkein? So I think the kolshkein is like this. If I'm telling you that if you have a bris milah during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, you have to add on a day before Rosh Hashanah to make up for that day of Aseret Yemei Tshuva that you're not going to fast, then certainly, if you have a bris milah during one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, you have to make up that day. Why? Why do you have to make up the day of the bris milah during Aseret Yemei Tshuva? What did the Ramah say? The Ramah said that if you have a bris milah during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, you're allowed to fast. You're allowed to break your fast and you're allowed to eat. Why? The Ramah said, because if there's a bris milah during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, then there's no minig to fast. The bris milah preempts the minig to fast. Now wait a second. If the bris milah preempts the minig to fast, so then why do I have to add on a day before Rosh Hashanah to make up for that fast day? That's not a fast day. Why do I have to make it up? Yet the Ramah says you should make it up. Well, in that case, kolshkein, if you have to make up that fast day, even though there's really no minig to fast on that fast day, then kolshkein, if you had a bris milah on one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, where you always fast to make up for the 4 days of Aseret Yemei Tshuva that you can't fast, now those 4 days, you always fast. So certainly, if you can't fast on one of those 4 days before Rosh Hashanah because of a bris milah, certainly you have to make that day up, because that's a bona fide fast day. Those 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, you fast every year to make up for the 4 days of Aseret Yemei Tshuva that you can't fast. So if you have to miss one of those 4 days because of a bris milah, certainly you have to make up that. If you have to make up a day of a bris milah during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, when the Ramah tells you that on that day there's really no minig to fast because the bris milah preempts the minig, but yet the Ramah says you have to make up that day, then certainly you have to make up one of the 4 days before Rosh Hashanah where there is a minig to fast. That's the way I understand the Chavetz Chaim. Amnam concludes the Chavetz Chaim over here as cutting your tests. Amnam, nevertheless, in Rosh Hashanah hu b'yom chamishi, when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday, daleka ela arba yamim lifnei Rosh Hashanah. If Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday, then that week you only have 4 days before Rosh Hashanah: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. In that case, ein sarach lehisanis yom echad kodim Shabbos. Let's say Rosh Hashanah falls out on a Thursday, and you know that you're going to have a bris milah on Friday. So you know that you're not going to fast on Friday. Well, you know the halach in Siman Tov Kuf Samach. You remember learning in the Dirshu shir. If you know before Rosh Hashanah that there's a day of Aseret Yemei Tshuva you're not going to be able to fast because of a bris milah, then you have to add on a tainus before Rosh Hashanah. So you look at the calendar and you say, well, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to fast anyway, because I always have to add on 4 days before Rosh Hashanah to make up for the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippur, and Shabbos. So Rosh Hashanah is Thursday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm already fasting. I guess I'm going to have to fast on Erev Shabbos the previous week to make up for the day of the bris milah. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. The week before, you don't fast. Why? Explains the Chavetz Chaim. Demeikara loy kiblo alayu, because when they first made this minig of fasting Aseret Yemei Tshuva, and to fast 4 days before Rosh Hashanah, they weren't mekabel elul hisanais b'mei aslichas. You only make these fast days when you're assigning slichas, v'loy b'yamam ha'acherim, but not before slichas begins. And if Rosh Hashanah is Thursday, when do you start slichas? You start slichas the previous Motzei Shabbos. So when are you going to tack on a 5th fast day before Rosh Hashanah? On Erev Shabbos, that's before slichas. If it's before slichas, we don't fast. Okay. Ois cotton chaf. The Ramah explained that the reason the bris milah preempts the tainus of Bahab after Sukkot or after Pesach or Aseres Yimei Tshuva was kiloi nagu lehisanois b'kai gavna, because in such a case they never had the minute to fast, so that's not a fast day. Says the Mishnah Berurah cotton chaf lehisanois. V'emchal yom shloishim ve'echad shaleidas benoi b'Shabbos. Let's say a person is making a pidyon haben, and normally you make the pidyon haben on day 31. So the baby already lived for a complete 30 days. Now, so you know that the baby's not chas v'chalila nefel. So now on day 31, you make the pidyon haben. But day 31 fell out on Shabbos, and we don't make a pidyon haben on Shabbos. Why don't we make a pidyon haben on Shabbos? What's the problem with making a pidyon haben on Shabbos? The answer is that a pidyon haben looks like mekach umemkar. It looks like a business transaction, right? You're giving the kohen 5 slime, and the kohen is giving you back your kid. Not giving you back, he's giving you the kid. The bachar goes to the kohen. So you want the kid, you pay 5 slime to the kohen gives you the kid. So it looks like a business transaction. So the pidyon haben is going to be on Sunday on day 32. The pidyon shaloi b'zmanoi. So it's a pidyon haben shaloi b'zmanoi. Mestapek Magen Avram. The Magen Avram wonders in heavy sudas mitzvah if this is really called a sudas mitzvah. If it's a bona fide sudas mitzvah, then if it falls out during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, and you have the practice to normally fast on Aseres Yimei Tshuva, you wouldn't fast, because the sudas mitzvah of the pidyon haben would preempt the fast. But the Magen Avram is mesupik. If it's a bris milah, if it's a pidyon haben shaloi b'zmanoi, if it's not on day 31, maybe it's not a bona fide sudas mitzvah. And the Chavetz Chaim says here in the parentheses, "Ve'ina daimel bris milah." You can't compare this to a bris shaloi b'zmanoi. A bris shaloi b'zmanoi certainly would preempt the tainus of Aseres Yimei Tshuva. What's different between a bris shaloi b'zmanoi and a pidyon haben shaloi b'zmanoi? Explains the Chavetz Chaim, to have a sudas mitzvah af shaloi b'zmanoi. A sudas bris is a sudas mitzvah even shaloi b'zmanoi. The Hassam, because by a bris milah, kol shaita v'shaita is manehu. Every moment that the baby is not gemalt, every moment that the baby is an oral, is a mitzvah to do the milah, and the suda is considered a sudas mitzvah. Kedei shalo yeh oral, because we don't want the baby to be an oral. And remember, if this baby will become a gadol and it'll be an oral, he's over on a krisos every moment that he doesn't do a bris milah. So a bris milah, there's a constant tzorich to do the bris. And therefore there's a constant mitzvah, and the suda, whenever it takes place, is a suda's mitzvah. Masha'ikein linyan pidyon haben. By the pidyon haben, there's a mitzvah to do the pidyon haben on day 31. That's a pidyon haben b'zmanoi. After day 31, yes, you're going to do the pidyon whenever you get around to doing the pidyon, but it's very easy to be doicha. You want to push it off another week, you can push it off another week. It's not like the baby's an oral. The baby is not padui. All right, so the baby's not padui. So the kohen has epis to the baby still. But it's not the same level as a baby chas v'chalila that's an oral. And therefore the Magen Avram is not sure. Maybe if it's a pidyon shaloi b'zmanoi, maybe the suda is not so much a suda's mitzvah. And maybe it's not doicha the tainus of Aseres Yimei Tshuva or of Bahab. Valkein, and therefore mitzadei, the Magen Avram leans towards saying to yasa suda achakach balayla, that you should take a fast, and instead of making the suda on day 31, you should make it the night after day 31. However, he says here in the brackets, Dagel Merivava Kasav, the Dagel Merivava writes to Tov Yoser Sheyasa Pidyon Vasuda Beleil Motzei Shabbos. Instead of pushing off the pidyon and the suda to Sunday night, which is going into day 32, right? Which is going into day 33. Shabbos was 31. Sunday was 32. Monday is 33. The Magen Avram is saying, if Sunday is Aseres Yimei Tshuva, so do it Sunday night. Because by night you don't fast. He's saying do it Sunday night. The Dagel Merivava is saying, why are you doing it Sunday night? Do it Motzei Shabbos. Do it the night after 31. Why are you pushing it to the night after 32? Push it, just make it earlier, the night after 31. The Kasav Magen Avram, the Magen Avram writes further, This whole halacha is only in these cases. By other tanesim that the tzibur is geyser, b'shar tainish geyser matzibur, aser lecha laf besudas mitzvah. This whole halacha of the Ramah here, that you're allowed to eat by a bris milah or by another type of sudas mitzvah, when there's the tainus of bahab after sukkos pesach or the tainus of aseres yimei tshuva, that applies to those type of tanesim, but not to a tainus that the tzibur is geyser on a specific day. Valkenin, therefore, mechal pidyon aben b'yom tanis tzibur, if a pidyon aben would fall out of Shivasa b'tamas, avshena agim liftoisai b'yom tanis, even though the minig is to make the pidyon on the tanis, hasuda ein oisin b'yom, you don't make the suda on the day of the tanis, ki yamachakach b'laylo, you make it that night. Uba'agos chasam sefer mitzadei, the chasam sefer leans towards saying, da'af b'zeh yasa pidyon v'asuda, b'leil knisas yom shleishim ve'echad. The Chasam Sofer says, listen, if day 31 is the Tainus Tzibur, Shivasa B'Tamas, don't make the pidyon on Shivasa B'Tamas by day and make the Suda the night after Shivasa B'Tamas. Make it earlier. Do Matzui day 30. Then make the pidyon and then make a Suda. You're allowed to eat the night before Shivasa B'Tamas. Ayin Sham. Ayit Kasav Abagad of Ram, the Abagad of Ram writes further, Tzarech Iyun, we have to analyze Kishem Isanin Chaf Sivan B'Malchus Poland. In the areas of Poland, there was a minig to fast on the 20th of Sivan because of different pogroms that happened over the years in that area. And the Magen Avram wonders, Imutter lechal al sudas mitzvah. On that tinus of Chaf Sivan, are you allowed to eat for a sudas mitzvah? The Efshadu b'chlal shar tinus tzibur da aser v'chanal. Because the Magen Avram says maybe it has a din of a regular tinus tzibur where he said that a bris milah isn't doicha, the tinus tzibur. Umiu, however, bismanenu nowadays al piroiv oisid kalasudas palayla. The Chavetz Chaim says the minig became that when a bris milah falls out of Chav Sivan, they make the suda at night. Umiu pamachas chal Chav Sivan be'erev Shabbos. The Chavetz Chaim says at one time occurred that the 20th of Sivan fell out on erev Shabbos. Fal Yasudas bris milah, and there was a bris scheduled for that erev Shabbos. V'tziva harav lechel b'yoyim, and the Rav paskin that they should eat. And the Suda of the Bris Milah should preempt the Tainus of Chav Sivan. Why? Instead of saying that you should make the Suda Friday night, because they said we're not going to have people who are going to come out for a Suda's Bris Milah Friday night, and they're not going to have a minyan for the Suda. In a city where they don't have the minhag to fast on Chav Sivan, but there are guests in the city who have the minhag that they do fast on Chav Sivan. If they need those guests for the minyan, for the bris, they're allowed to eat even during the day. Not sure what he means, b'chal hayamim. Oh, in other words, he just brought down a minig. He just brought down a maisa from one Rav in Poland where Chav Sivan fell out on Erev Shabbos and the Bris Milah was on Erev Shabbos, and the Rav paskined that they could eat during the day for the Bris Milah on Erev Shabbos because he said you're not going to get a minyan to come out Friday night for the Sudas HaBris. Now he's saying another halacha. He's saying, what if you have a city where they don't have the minhag to fast on Chav Sivan, and a bris fell out on Chav Sivan, but they don't have a minyan for the Sudas HaBris. But there are guests there who do have the minhag of fasting on Chav Sivan. Says the Chavetz Chaim, they should break their fasts, not only if it's Erev Shabbos, even if it's a Tuesday. They should break their fasts, even though they have the minhag to normally fast on Chav Sivan. They should break their fasts so that the Sudas Bris Milah should have a minyan. Okay. Now we go weiter in the Ramah. This is the bottom line in the Shulchan Aruch. Says the Ramah, "V'davka kisha oichle misham." This halacha that we're saying, that if a Bris Milah falls out on Aseres Yimei Tshuva or during Bahab that you're allowed to eat, v'davka kisha oichle misham. That's only if you're eating at the Sudas HaBris. Avalim sholchim loy lebeisai. But if it's during COVID-19 and they're not making a Sudas Abris, and instead they have packaged bagels and lakhs and danishes, and they give it to you after the bris, and you take it home and you eat it in your house, whoever thought would see such a thing, in that case, says the Ramah, Avalim sholchim loy lebeisai, ein loy lechol. Then if it's during Aseres Yimei Tshuva, you should not eat. V'im kibel alav atainis b'mincha. And another thing, even though we're saying that the Suda of a Sudas mitzvah preempts the minig of fasting during Bahab, or fasting in Aseres Yimei Tshuva, that's only if you weren't Mekabel Tainis by Mincha the day before. Let's remember, we said that for the fast of Bahab, you don't have to make a Kabbalah's Tainis by Mincha. You just say Amen to the Mishaberach if the Musaf on Shabbos afternoon, and you have in mind that that's your Kabbalah's Tainis, and that's your Kabbalah's Tainis. But you never have to make a Kabbalah's Tainis where you say Areini b'Tainis Lamacha. But if you went ahead and you made a Kabbalah's Tainis for Bahab, then you're not allowed to eat by a bris milah by Bahab. Says the Mishnah Berurah back on Mem Daled Amud Aleph in Ois Katan Chaf Aleph. V'im kibel olav. If you made your own personal Kabbalah's Tainis before Bahab, Ritzayin Loimar. What the Ramah wants to say is like this: the Chol Zeh, this whole halacha that the Sudas mitzvah preempts the Tainis of Bahab or the Tainis of Aseres Yimei Tshuva, kishaloi kibel olav Tainis. That's only when you didn't make your own Kabbalah's Tainis by Mincha the day before the Tainis, because the halacha is that you don't really have to. Elishasamach atzmai ala minik. You just relied on the minik. Aisha ana amen kishabavarchin bahab. Or you said amen to the mishaberach of Bahab on Shabbos. The Oz, in that case, loy kibel olav beneder. You never made a neder to fast. You never said hareini b'tainis lamachar. V'em rasa shaloi l'sanis. And if you don't want to fast, rashai. You're not mechuyev to fast. Therefore, so in that case, even if you didn't know that you were going to chance upon a bris milah, and you started to actually fast, nevertheless, you're allowed to go ahead and break your fast for the Sudas mitzvah. Because why not? Like the Ramah said, why are you fasting? Because of the minig of fasting on Bahab? There is no minig to fast on Bahab if there's a bris milah. So if you were relying on the minig, if the only reason you are fasting was because of the minig, then there is no minig. So you could go break your fast. But if you were Mekabel Tainis, then you weren't relying on the minig. The minig didn't require you to be Mekabel Tainis. You did more than the minig. You went ahead and you made a Kabbalah's Tainis. Ooh, your Kabbalah's Tainis, that already made the day a specific day of Tainis. Let's remember what we learned at the beginning of this sif. If you say Areini b'Tainis Lamachar, if you make a Kabbalah's Tainis, then it depends. Did you have an original neder for your Kabbalah's Tainis to refer back to? If you had an original neder that was for unspecified days of Tanaisim, then even though you said Areini b'Tainis Lamachar, tomorrow is not a specific fast day, and you could break it for a bris. But if you didn't have an original neder for your Kabbalah's Tainis to refer back to, if you just said Hareini b'Tainis Lamachar, then tomorrow is a specific fast day. And if tomorrow is a specific fast day, then you can't break it for a bris milah. Now, what's the deal with this case? In this case, you're fasting because it's Bahab. You didn't need to make a Kabbalah's Tainis, and you don't have an original neder. So you said Hareini b'Tainis Lamachar without an original neder for it to refer back to. So now tomorrow is a specific day Tainis, and you can't break it for a bris milah, says the Mishnah Berurah inside. The Ritzayin Loimar, Oiskatan Chaf Aleph, the Chol Zeh Davka Kishaloi Kibel Olav Tainis. This is only true when you didn't make your own Kabbalah's Tainis. El Shasamach Atzmai Ala Minig, you relied on the Minig. Oisha Ana Amen Kishem Avarkin Bahab, or you said Amen to the Mishaberach of Bahab. Da'az then like Kibel Olav Beneder. You didn't have your own Kabbalah's Tainis that stands as an eder. And if you don't want to fast, you don't have to. And therefore, even though you didn't know there was going to be a bris, and you did start to fast, you're still allowed to break your fast for the bris. But if you made a Kabbalah's Tainis the day before by mincha, you did more than the minig, sarach lekayim, you have to fulfill your dibur, or lehisanais, and now you have to fast, af besudis mitzvah, even though there's a sudis mitzvah, because you made a kabbalah satainis. V'dasa Magen Avram ve'ezi achrayim, it's the opinion of the Magen Avram and other achrayim, da'afki shekibel alav b'mincha mutter. They're more makel, and they say no, not so fast. Even if you made your own kabbalah satainis by mincha the day before, you could still break your fast for the bris milah. Kevin shekabbalasai haya avor aminig, because the Magen Avram says that this case is just like the case where you had an original neder. The Bachaber said, if you had an original neder to fast unspecified days, so then your Kabbalah's tainus by mincha the day before refers back to the neder, and even though you said Areini b'tainus lamachar, tomorrow's fast is considered a non-specific day of tainus. The Magen Avram says the same thing is over here. Over here, it's true, you are Makabal Tainus, you said Areini b'tainus lamachar, and it's true that you don't have an original neder, but what you do have is, why are you being Makabal Tainus? Only because of the minig of Bahab. So okay, so your Kabbalah's Tainus refers back to the minig of Bahab, and the minig of Bahab is preempted by a bris milah. That's the logic of the Magen Avram. For Ramah Ma'iri b'mishay ne'masama kol Bahab. And this Ramah, says the Magen Avram, is referring to somebody who can't say that his Kabbalah Satainus refers back to the minig because he doesn't have a minig to fast on Bahab. He typically does not fast on Bahab. So how can he say that his Kabbalah Satainus refers back to the minig? I call it Seres Yimei Tshuva. Yomi Yamayim. V'dim to the Zet Tzarech Medina Kabbalah Mincha. So he needed a Kabbalah Satainus. V'dina Kilu Masana B'Emsa Shana Sharein and Tola B'minig. From the Gra, it sounds like he was machmer like the lavush. When we come up, nevertheless, nire the bazeh yochel lilvais for lefraya tainus acheres. The Chavetz Chaim takes a middle ground between the lavush and the Magen Avram. He says it's bahab. You made a kabbalah satainus. According to the lavush, you can't break your fast. According to the Magen Avram, you could break your fast. No, says the Chavetz Chaim, we'll take a middle ground. You could break your fast and pay it back with a different day of fasting. The Balavachi yesh kamer rishonim desfirlu ta'afilu ba'omer hareini makabel hisanis lamachar yachal lilvais filafraya. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. Discuss of limud HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom should send Yeshuas and Refuas and Parnasa to all those in need. I want to wish a special Refuah Shalema to Shlomo Zalman ben Mesha, Menachem Ari ben Dini Yehudis, Yisrael Tzvi ben Ruchama Edel Roiza. They should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shar Chayil Yisrael. We should be zeichet to see the Bias Kal Tzedek Meher V'Yameinu. Amen. Be well.